and we'll see exactly where this playing path leads. New circle settings, absolutely beautiful at the moment. Liking to see it. Gives us some longer games over in Miramar as well as Oracle, but fairer matches with cooler endings, and that's what it's all about. So heading straight in, this is our match 2 with Group Red.
Fair match, cool ending. Wow, gonna be looking at Miramar.
Fair match, cool man, ending. All right.
I'm just summarizing it, eh? Oh wow. South Plain path going through Los Leones. It cuts off quite a lot of the northern areas, Blank. Places like Cruz de Valle, places like Torre Ahumada, El Azahar, going to be harder to get to.
Yeah, much harder to get to as well, and you'll see teams like Nigma Galaxy currently setting out the plane over on this western side, looking for vehicles immediately on this western road. They might get harassed by some other teams looking to do the same. The Infinity up towards La Triera, see if they drop down and pick up some vehicles as well on the way up towards Monte Nuevo. But yes, very much a southern plane path here, a little bit more difficult to work with, especially on Miramar where this is such a large map. When you're looking at Oracle and you see that plane path coming through from Severny down towards Sosnovka, you're not too upset about it, especially if it's on the western side, because there's still opportunity to get everywhere. Here on Miramar, much more difficult, and especially with a lot of these teams, you know, they have scrimmed together for a while. I'm sure that they're very aware of each other's drop spots. Here it's still difficult because this throws a wrench into the gears, right? At this point in time, a lot of teams are trying to figure out where exactly these teams are going to be picking up vehicles from, where exactly their rotational paths are going to be. So a little bit more difficult to play, and I'm sure we're going to see some early engagements.
That's a hard northwest circle. Goodness me. That is diametrically opposed to where the plane path went. Looks like we're in for an interesting first day of games. Central in the drops. Bigetron will be taking up residency in Picado. No one else contesting that. Los Leones probably the main contested area at this stage. 2 teams dropping there. Agonxi8 and MadBulls, both playing from Los Leones here. I'm trying to keep an eye out for any other hot drops that we might be seeing playing.
Honestly, the hot drops are less likely to be because teams have been dropping on one another, and more likely to be because teams just cannot find these vehicles at the same time. Now, for Scry, it's going to be very difficult for him to get into this vehicle and get gone with the amount of HP he's got remaining. Luckily, he's able to get underneath the ridge.
How?
There's players from on top side from box as well, able to provide a little bit of cover here. Goodness me, you're right. How has that happened?
Well, I mean, I can hear Colaris singing box formation as they rally around their teammate, their comrade, who's down in the ditches and gets away with a party bus.
Well, I mean, you know, box formation, box type vehicle. That's what it's all about. DRS here, also going up against R8. Only found themselves a Winnie and a shotgun, I believe that was. So a little bit rough here for R8 at the beginning. Nadenhan for ID7. To send it down towards Giante. Gets back behind the building. Smart move there. Realizes that maybe he's overstayed his welcome. Again, this is a PMGC, so we got the top of the top in terms of players, which is nice to see. LGD have lost a player. Sorry, Max. Not going maybe the way you hoped.
Drops out through the door. Oh dear. LGD taking a bleed out. First blood going over to Voki for 4 rivals. Capitalizing on a good game to try and convert here. You can see at the moment they're in 2nd place overall with Influence Chemin streaking out with a 9-point lead early on. Very nice to see.
Absolutely. I honestly, I do want to see 4 rivals continue to put on a bit of performance today. Just purely with, you know, the amount of effort that these guys have put in to make sure they're in PMGC every single time and in towards those big tournaments. I think for 4 rivals, yeah, they might not be the best team in the world, but they are consistently here, always trying to bring something new to the table, trying to get some performances done. They might not always make the right decisions, but it's got them this far at least.
Cheeky little scrap around the church yard. The Graves there not providing any sanctuary. R8 playing on the inside. DRS swarming the hills, but there is an outpost for R8 that they can try and leverage. Can they get Bandar to have an impact here? But with a shotgun in the hills, out in the open, I feel like this is a pretty cursed position coming through from Bandar. It looks like Rules might have the idea of it. Shotgun though, close range, manages to get the fight that you want with that sort of weapon, but does not go their way.
Rules really takes the tango with the Tiger over on that side. I mean, it was a little bit dangerous. Fangs and Claws were out with a shotgun, getting up close. He was happy with that one, but Rules really sets to taking him apart with the UMP. Happy days, great weapon close range, extremely accurate. And without the vest, that thing really does shred you very, very quickly. So if you miss that first shot on the shotgun, it is pretty much GG at that point in time. MadBulls down towards Los Leones were sharing that alongside with i8 by currently making their move up towards the northwestern side where we have seen this circle drop. La Coperia is still in, Crater Fields, El Pozo and San Martin, one of the huge features of this circle currently alongside with a lot of the high grounds that are available in this area. S2G currently trying to set themselves up in this area with one player out towards Power Grid, providing some support, some information in Hamzi.
They are kind of trapped at this stage. Waiting for the misstep from DRS, but it's just not coming. They're spending a lot of time here, though. They're potentially wasting a little bit of time as well, because they're right on the southeast side of the circle. They could be getting loot. They could be getting ahead.
It's always a difficult decision to make, right? Especially with these circles. And again, I think you're seeing these early game engagements, but you're also seeing teams take their time with it, right? And I think that's fair play. You don't want to get caught, you know, in tangles with other teams in this area. Prestige takes a huge amount of damage. S2G currently still trying to find some position. Silas gets on top of the concrete, but Ralph has eyes on, spots him. See here, Nigma Galaxy already getting into one of these high ground spots, but it's only Ralph at the moment. Silas is, you know, playing a silly game with him, and silly games only get you knocked in this case. But Ralph sends away. Silas lives to tell the tale another day.
Peekaboo, fun with your 3-month-old. Not so fun.
What, with a Mini
with
14?
Ralph,
I don't
with
think
a Mini
so.
14. I don't think it's quite the target audience
You
for
having
that
fun
sort
yet?
of game. Peekaboo! Ow!
Ow, stop that. Those pellets really hurt. Up towards the northeastern side, John, we do have 4 rivals. Took down one of the players from LGD early on with a bleed out, as you were saying. LGD currently trying to rotate over the top side of Torre Armada and Tierra Bronca. I think that's a smart move, but currently 4 rivals tailing them at the moment, making sure they keep tabs on them. Setting up the wall between them and the circle itself, with Appy sending forward in towards the circle. Overall, decent move from 4 rivals at the moment. They will have to worry slightly with Influence Chemin just underneath them, able to dismount them from that last game, taking the chicken dinner, whilst 4 rivals were on the lower end of that high ground itself, stuck on the cliff edges as Influence Chemin slowly but surely chipped them away.
The Infinity fueling up, standing by for rotates, but they are pretty central in this next circle and on the long side of it as well, so should be pretty chill for now. Rotation coming in through for Buriram, moving past water treatment right now, up onto the ridge line. Seemingly wanted to take control, but they will have to move southwest. That, I mean, it's kind to the teams already there, but the teams on the northeastern side who've swung out that way blank, they want to be on the complete opposite side of the circle right now. Titan, pretty happy.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, this has worked out extremely well for them. You know, they were chilling down towards that southwest side. They picked up those vehicles early on the western edge. Now can move up into a decent position. Nigma Galaxy, though, have a very, very good outpost in the terms of Ralph. Fortunately, this is one of those positions where you have to be really careful in, because currently the Infinity over towards Crater Fields, moving down off that mountain, might just be able to spot down towards him. In which case he needs to be very, very clear on the idea that this is more of a case about survival, making sure he can remain undetected, and also provide very, very good cover support down towards the rest of his team in Nigma Galaxy. Buriram quite quiet on that last game, yet getting themselves a 3rd place. Decent stuff. Coming 2nd place over in that Southeast Asia Championship. Relatively, you know, new contender to the field of PUBG Mobile in terms of getting these high performances. See if they can kind of bring that performance through to PMGC as well, which would be great to see. So far, it's already looking good, though I haven't seen that same aggressiveness as we've seen out of some of these other teams, but we all know that before in the past, it was all about those placement points.
Oh, God, Tani. caught sleeping there. Freak from the top rope finds him completely exposed. This is a really powerful area for Nigma Galaxy to hold. And with Lord down the bottom as well, they have some control in the ground foothills.
Able to get a return shot back. These other teams, but God Tony going down, one of the clutch members of the team. Slightly unfortunate, really. Having that player up and kicking is very useful for you. So the Infinity losing one, a little bit of difficulty, but they have eyes on now, so we'll be able to at least remain competitive. Oh, goodness me. You felt like that one was going to hit, didn't you?
Oh, man, I just hear that dog bark and Newsy just not going to bite with it. Not yet anyway. Puts another bullet down range. But the lead sails cloudward. Doesn't quite land.
Team slowly working their way into the circle now. 4 rivals able to stay out of dodge from the guys on Influence. Chemin, LGD currently, MVM, CCC, Suki far behind. With the rest of the team slowly making his way over towards them. So it will be pretty difficult for this team to get in with 2 powerhouses in front of them. And realistically, you know, you can go one of 2 ways here. You can see on your screen that heading down towards where 4 rivals are moving in, bit of a death valley for them. Buriram also in that area, might want to take shots towards 4 rivals. They're already set up in this position, but with this circle shift, you'd imagine most of these teams on northeastern side more concerned with getting into position first.
So there's difficult areas in this circle, right, Blank? That field to the southeast side of El Pozo, very, very open and exposed. With Nigma Galaxy in the position that they're in right now, it's going to be pretty impossible to try and step up to that sort of area. So that isolates a lot of this next circle. And everybody else is already crunched in. So these teams who have yet to get in the circle really don't have a lot of places to go.
No, I think for Nigma Galaxy as well, with such a good position on the map and a great start for themselves, it's sad that they've lost one of their members, one of their players in the process. They're trying to take this split between the compound that's just on the south edge of that field, as well as sending Ralph up towards the top side of the mountain. This is extremely good for them, but with 4 players, this would have been ideal. This gives now the Infinity maybe some time to move across. But again, it's another 3v3, so somewhat of a stalemate towards this top side of the mountain.
Shots from Hamzy about to ring out, I'm sure. S2G peppering away Pemburu. Doing a little bit more damage to the closer up players, but Pemburu gets away. Sends another teammate even further in. Epui will be able to stay alive for now, but close to raise for S2G. Nade being cooked, first aid popped. They know exactly where he is on the vehicle. Razy wants the challenge, and it's the nade that's good. We'll be able to put that one down, pocket that point, and 4 rivals diminished even further.
Yeah, great send around the side there. S2G, very good when it comes to team fights, and with this case of playing on the edge, happy days for them. R8 will find Gyante from DRS, take him down. Now Pemburu in a very tough spot versus S2G. This is always the problem with this circle heading down this far towards the southwest, and any team playing on the northeast. Influence Chemin certainly skipped the number with this one by heading over towards that northern side. LGD taking a similar game plan. You head through here, teams like S2G know the exact route that you're going to take, and with the position that they held, it was almost impossible for any team to get through. In fact, even another great play from them was sending Razy over towards that compound just on the western side underneath the mountain that Infinity and Nigma Galaxy currently playing, because in that typical scenario, right, you would send one player out towards those compounds to try and provide an anchor point for the rest of the team to attempt to crawl on over towards. But Razy, one of their better and more informed players when it comes to those 1v1s, sends over that side, holds out any player that tries to make the escape. Really good play from S2G.
Shots from S2G again, finding SK-Ton on the spray, and there's the knock, there's the flush. There's a second team to get eliminated to the barrels of S2G. Nicely found. A good punchy start yet again. We saw this from them last game. Can they capitalize further?
Yeah, their beginnings are always so fantastic, and I just want to see them be able to translate that into late game. And again, it's the same exact strategy. You have 3 players over on that top side. You take shots, you do a little bit of damage. The only other option for that player is to send towards that basically break out of buildings that Razy was holding. He has great angles, takes shots, and it's an instant flush. So honestly, S2G set that one up perfectly, and I do think anyone coming from that northeast should have really realized that that was going to be always the problem entrance for them. In that case, though, it's just Influence Chemin that essentially influences a lot of those other teams to send down towards that position by playing so very tight on that northeast edge.
Titan on the southwest side. Nigma Galaxy playing actually fairly split with their Ralph's position. I'm surprised that they haven't backed it up. One knock over towards Ralph, and that's it for their strength in this position. So as long as Ralph doesn't go down, they're fine.
Yeah, again, we were talking about it's somewhat of a stalemate with the Infinity having only 3 players and Nigma Galaxy in the same position. It's one of those spots that, like you say though, John, if it is heavily assaulted, Ralph could easily go down, but I'm assuming he will have a vehicle position, can regroup with the rest of his team. And at this point in the game, this is where ideally you would want to pick a spot though, right, John?
Out in the open. Influence Chemin getting across to one of the hay shacks.
Yeah, interesting.
LGD taking up occupation in 2. Apparently both teams split. Titan have oversight onto this field. It's not a high ground position, but it is still there. LGD, the first to lose a player to it.
I mean, we are going to see more central shifts here on the circle, and it's not going to shift too much with the new circle settings, which is great to see. So you can more or less decide where you want to go without having too much problems thrown your way in terms of hardship. So I think that taking this spot, throwing down smokes, and getting this position early on where you can see many of the teams moving over towards this place, Influence Chemin is playing this one fairly dominantly, honestly. So really, really well done. Lil Boy finally takes out the final player from LGD in Suki. If I had to predict anyone right now, I would be going for Influence Chemin. I think this is a unorthodox but really good play.
I mean, it's a difficult position to get into, but once you've entrenched, it's difficult to dismount. There's not too many sightlines that way. Looking over at the northeast side again, Blank DRS have moved up to the foothills underneath Ralph from Nigma Galaxy on that super high ground. Infinity on the north side have taken a knock as S2G are starting to swing into that area as well. So now is the test for Ralph.
Exactly. I think for Ralph now, he is in fairly safe hands at the top of that mountain. DRS unlikely to be able to get up there quick enough that he can't just immediately spot that push happening and send himself down towards the rest of his team. But I think with how central Hamodi and Freak currently are, I don't think it's worth it for Ralph to be up here anymore other than information's sake. And to be quite frank, I think most of that information will have been gathered already on Ralph's side. He has a rough idea where these teams are. Now he needs to start thinking about the late game.
Next circle, just about to come through. Team Queso on the southwest side, close to so many sightlines. Really difficult push for them to make. It's fairly central, and actually not too big of an issue for pretty much anyone at this stage. So small little incremental moves. Probably the difficult pushes will still be on the southwest side, but we're looking at Bigetron and Box as well on that western side, who both have to shuffle a little bit further forwards. Team Queso, they're coming apart in that position. I mean, that's to be expected.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult to push through, especially on the ridge side. emTek as well on that area. Team Queso just unable to make their way through. Had a pretty decent league stage as well, but also similarly crumpled over in those finals in America's Championships. Did fairly decently, but was it good enough? I don't think so. I mean, they were really struggling. There was a few teams that were looking to overtake them as well, and it was by the barest breath. I think it was like 2 points, in which case they were able to qualify over towards the PMGC, which is not the result they were looking for, considering the league stage and how dominant they were in it. Again, Influence Chemin, I'm going to say it again, an unorthodox play, but playing into these new settings really, really well. Usually you would have seen a hard shift down to maybe, even I8 at this point in time, but with the fields all around you and having a dominant position like this set up so early on with the smokes that they use and the vehicles get here, I think that they might be set for another chicken dinner here. I don't think there's many other teams that can challenge them all that well. MadBulls currently still going, very silent at this point in time. Typical for MadBulls as well. If you didn't watch Western Europe, this is a team that starts to pop off in that late game and likes to take their time getting into position without too many troubles early on.
They're kind of the opposite of S2G. They are the yang to the yin, as it were. They start off a little bit slower, then they start to punch out and gain that momentum. They scale well. S2G will have to move in from this northeastern side, close to DRS, and Ralph did descend from high. and regrouped with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So the north side's still a little bit further open. Titan are really the roadblock in the way of all of these southwest teams. There's 4 teams behind them.
Yeah, it's a fantastic spot that they're currently holding. MadBulls mostly struggling because they are on the low ground at the moment and they will have to move over fairly open positions, so it will be those vehicles that will come massively in handy. So they're sort of waiting for this massive engagement to start popping off on this side. There's 4 teams in close contention, in which case they might be able to sail on through. Federal does get taken down by a nasty headshot coming through from S2G themselves with that high ground and get another over towards Kayovsky. What a terrible result there coming through for Influence Chemin, and that is just S2G with some incredible shots coming through from the high ground. It's what they're known for. They are pinpoint accurate.
Influence Chemin being further decimated out in the open. They are pulling it together though. Keeping them up at 2 is not ideal. Little Boy and Law still in it, but out in the open. It's very much a hide and survive situation for them. Audience predictions come through. DRS with 43% of the vote here from the northeast side.
Yeah, interesting that actually. I mean, it's a decent spot they're currently holding. They have the ridgeline, but S2G currently have made their way into a very, very strong position to play from. Currently, I think it's 8 eliminations so far, which is a really good game for themselves. And I think that, you know, when the audience were predicting this, DRS did have a good spot. Silas takes a bit of a tumble there on their side. Nexo comes in, and look, this is what we were saying before. If Influence Chemin were able to hold that spot, they would have been great ending for themselves.
Look at that. This guy is on fire today. Reyes doing so much work for the squad. Papi Potro pops the final shot. We'll be able to keep alive for Team Queso, but in comes the crash from emTek Storm as well. They will be able to run it on down. Box Gaming forward in the meantime. This south side really starting to heat up now. It's emTek Storm versus Titan as they both try and flee for any position in this next circle. Influence Chemin maybe having to hold out Taman and Chicken on that south side of themselves. Law and Lil Boy out in the open. Can't really afford to peek too much. They know there's so many people looking their way.
Yeah, emTek just took the opportunity they had to try and get towards a better position in the circle. MadBulls try and fight out against Team Queso, and we just caught the barest end of that. But again, like you said, Ray is pulling out some fantastic work, and MadBulls just not able to make their way through. They were pushed out by BTR and unable to get into a position where they could get anything done. So happy days for Team Queso, I suppose.
3 of them still alive. Titan have moved a little bit further forwards, trying to stop Bigetron from getting any further in, and doing so fairly successfully. Only the 1 player remains for Bigetron. Shots from Ayala, allowing the rest of Team Queso to redistribute those meds, keep suppression up towards Titan. 3 versus 4 on the hillside here. Puncher low, but heals up. Smokes being launched forwards to give themselves avenues of ingress. Papi Potro probably looking to break out to that left-hand side, but they have to... Left-hand? That's definitely a word. But it will they will have to try and find these routes through the Titan defense, which has not let up for the last 5 minutes, Blank.
It's quite the intense engagement on this southwest side. A load of these teams trying to make their way through, but Titan remains at the top of their game at the moment, not allowing any teams to push through this area. Reyes looks for a little bit more, but Teak and Puncher both moving forward to eliminate the final players. Ayala with the DBS, can't quite find the second, but it looks so good. Now Reyes has a big task on his hands.
He's done so much for the team, but it is not to be. They might strike like lightning, but Kronos sits on the throne ahead of them. Now Titan need to move forwards.
Sky from Buriram, again, making their way quite far into this game, but only 2 remaining and 1 elimination. DRS have to move down. S2G, in the meantime, made their crossing out in towards the open ground on the field. And Titan looks like they will be the final winner over in this gauntlet towards the southwest side of the map. That was a nice shot as well. Just keeping I8 at bay.
Just letting them know, you know. And this is a great result for Titan, right? To get this deep into the game, to have held out powerful teams on the southwest side after an early L in the first game, it's a good little return to confidence as well for them. Keeping themselves up at 4 could be crucial, but they do have to figure out where to go from here on out. Agonxi8 will be taking heavy punishment from Buriram across the way, but everybody's going to have to move. Nigma Galaxy have just been holding out on the inside for so long. 2 eliminations, but they've stopped people moving to these buildings.
It's been a rough time. Buriram with only 2 players, though. I think taking the fight towards I8 is somewhat bold, somewhat dangerous, but I respect it. And if Buriram want to get any further, they will have to make something happen. But that is a disgusting nade that gets sent over the top and will send Buriram home.
Happens, you know? Unfortunate. Buriram take the dip there. Titan and S2G, the only 2 teams with 4 players remaining. Teak healing up, mounting up. S2G already in the circle for the next, but they're playing out in the shack. DRS might be able to spot it with their last player killer.
Nigma Galaxy kept this cool, calm, collected throughout the entirety of the game. I liked the timing in which Ralph moved down from the mountainside as well. We talked about it literally 10 seconds before he made that movement, so getting back to the team was very important there for them. emTek out in the blue. This is most likely the end for them as they try and swerve their way into the circle. Already chickens out the back. There's only 1 remaining in Tarman.
Trying to get across, but Tarman's time is ticking away and will reach its end. emTek's Storm will fall. No further into this game. Influence Chemin still alive, still keeping that tally up. Of course, they had a really nice little buffer lead at the start, so getting top 5 again in this second game is an excellent conversion into those overall standings for Group Red. Modi not quite landing the shots.
S2G still at 4 players though. So far could be another good result for S2G. Yes, they didn't get the latest of endings over on Erangel, but they certainly got themselves a fair amount of elimination points total. Puncher also takes a huge amount of damage. Great spot for Hamodi here. I mean, he has sightlines absolutely everywhere. And with that little lip at the top of the wall, gives him so much cover to play around with. S2G with 8 eliminations after they had that massively good barricade they'd set up. Basically playing the guardsman of Miramar so far in the match. Influence Chemin still going as well, John, like you said.
Little boy sneaking around out in the field. They've been playing it for a while. Very familiar with it now. Nigma Galaxy, 3 players. In a very central position. They have control of the longhouse. Very useful. Will be difficult to try and push on towards S2G. Sure, they have 4. Titan, sure, they have 4, but getting in here is really tricky. There's a lot of open ground.
Yeah, 8 eliminations for them anyway. Still a good result. I8 have been struggling, bleeding and bruised. S2G in a similar problematic situation. Damn good shots coming through from Hamodi. Obviously holding on the high ground there, supported by the rest of his team. We're able to get a huge amount of damage over towards S2G, which were the biggest problem for Nigma Galaxy going forward.
Crazy last player for S2G now. Little boy's been crawling, pinches a point. Nice one. Adds to the tally. 5 eliminations for Influence Chemin. Top 5, top 4 as Ray Z goes down.
I'll be S2G out. What a good spot from them, but unable to capitalize. Titan at 4 players. This is a team that we thought would have difficulty getting in towards this match. Little boy can still cause a bit of a problem for them. Still looking over towards his way. We'll go for the first aid kit here. Understand that he might need to move a little bit further in.
Nade from Lil Boy. Doesn't find too much there. Has to crawl out in the open now. Puncher, broadside. Titan do know that he's there. Put him down. 5 eliminations for Influence Chemin. 4th place. A good result to convert, as we were saying before. Nigma Galaxy, 3. Agonxi8, 3. Titan, 4 on the outside.
This is a good play from Nigma Galaxy. Get themselves set up on the opposite side of the building of I8 to try and isolate some of these fights. They don't want to have a third party coming through, but it is Six who finds himself a nice little angle over on the western edge of that building. picks up at least one, and now Nigma Galaxy down to 2 with no hope in hell and getting that player back up on his feet. 5 nades here from Hamodi. He's been waiting for this push the entire game, and now these nades absolutely have to count. Get a lot of damage done there, and there's actually a play zone knock there for I8 on that side.
Went flushed out by Teak for Titan. 10 double-digit elims already. Unstoppable flashes on the screen for Titan. 3 players active and fighting, but Nigma Galaxy start to strike. 1 player downer for Nigma Galaxy, but Hamodi still has this high ground position. Max are really struggling to get those shots back in. Nades over the top, and he is felled. Titan with 2 on the outside, looking for 1 res. Agonxi8 want the nade over the top to try and pinch away some of those points as well, but Puncher will be knocked again, re-knocked, as Freak has the undershots.
It's the last nade coming through from Hamodi, and will pick up the final players there from Titan. I8 not able to find much of their own. Hamodi currently putting on an absolute performance for us here in the PMGC on Miramar. Puncher so very low, looking for maybe some more medical assistance on his side. Freak goes down, leaving Hamodi all on his lonesome to 1v1v1, and Puncher finds at least one of them.
But the meds are running dry, and it's another shot over towards the roof side, and from the outskirts, it's Titan to stay alive to the very end. They held everyone out on the southwest edge, and they will continue to roll through those fields. Beautiful chicken dinner coming through from Titan, masterfully executed.
Yeah, seriously resilient, and I mean, mate, you can flex those guns all you like, because honestly, you had to be one hell of a strong man to finish out that game the way they did. It was really, really tough, really difficult. Magical performance coming through from Titan. A lot of things had to go right from them there. The fact they were able to get that far, pick up as many eliminations